What's up guys, welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to be chatting about order blocks and exactly which order block price will react off of. I've had so many people ask me, how do you know which order block is going to hold? As remember, there's a ton of order blocks in the market. So we need to be able to find the correct one as to where price is going to react off of. So let's get straight into it. So I'm going to do this on NASDAQ and let's just go on to a 15-minute chart. We don't necessarily need to do anything too fancy. Right, in fact, no, I lie. Let's go on to a 1 hour chart, right? Now, let's quickly just have a look at how we will find an order block. Okay, let's look at where current price is. Now, remember, we want to be able to find the last bearish candle before a strong push to the upside or the last bullish candle before a strong push to the downside. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about refinement as well. And this is something that a lot of people get wrong. So first things first, in this example, this would be your order block over here on a 1 hour chart. Now, what I need you guys to do is treat an order block as a point of interest, right? A POI. Okay, now why do we want to do that? A POI is going to be our point of interest as to where we see price potentially turning around, okay? There's no specific reason why this order block will hold and why this one won't, okay? Let's actually just zoom into that one over there. Okay, as you can see over here, we currently have 2 points of interest, okay? So how do you know which one's going to hold? Where do you believe price is going to react off of? Well, no one actually knows. You can never be entirely sure. And this is where confirmations come in really, really handy. Okay. Now, what do we need to see to make an order block valid? Okay. We need to see price come in to our order block. Okay. Test this order block. Break structure on a lower time frame, come back and test a newly formed order block before we see it break structure again. It will do exactly the same thing and continue to the upside. Okay, so this is why people will not always try and pick tops and bottoms. Why? Because you can never be entirely sure that price will turn around at that point. Okay, however, if we have a break of structure here, okay, we know that now the character has changed for price to begin moving in the opposite direction. Okay, so how does that help us? Well, we know now that price is broken above. We'll probably be looking maybe at a 5 or 15-minute chart. I never really trust any break of structure lower than this unless you're trying to scalp. But remember, I am a swing trader. Swing trading will always make you more money than scalping will. But anyway, once we have our break of structure, we will then have a new order block form. Okay, we may have an order block a little bit lower, but more than likely that order block won't be the one being tested. Because remember, what a lot of people are taught is to use a fib, right? So when you pull a fib, if we look at this, okay, what's going to happen is if price comes all the way down to test there, that will theoretically invalidate what price is trying to do. Okay, so I mean, you hear a lot of these retail traders talk about the golden zone on the fib, but don't worry too much about that. I'm just explaining to you as to why price will not come all the way back down and test this once we then have a broken structure, right? So what's going to happen is we're just going to have a new order block form, and it's more than likely obviously going to be a very small candle because we're looking at a 5 or 15-minute chart. Remember, the higher the time frame something happens on, the better something is going to be respected. Okay, so if you have to find like a daily order block, like there's a high possibility that that area is going to be respected really, really nicely. But again, you can refine it down onto lower time frames. And that's exactly what would happen here. Is we're looking at the 1 hour chart, we see price push into this order block that we have drawn on. Maybe we go down to a 15-minute chart. We see now sweet price is broken above that area. And you can see that we're going to be waiting for quite a while before price does begin to come back down to this area. And when it does, we can almost safely assume that this will be a good entry. Okay, this would be called the risk entry, meaning you may want to risk a quarter of what you normally risk. If you're risking 10%, then you would rather risk maybe like 2.5%. But if you're risking like a normal amount of like 1%, then look to risk like 0.25% on this trade, right? Once it's then confirmed for a third time, sorry, I'm lying to you. Our confirmation has been our break of structure, right? So that's our first confirmation. Second confirmation is that it reacts very nicely off of our new order block that's been formed. That's why we do get an entry here. It will be a very nice entry, but also a small amount. Okay, that will be our risk entry. So now if price begins to move up, we now have 3 confirmations, and we will have price come back to test a new order block, also more than likely a very sniper entry. This will be your confirmation entry. And this confirmation entry will be the one where you risk your full amount that you would normally risk, whether it be 1%, 2%, 5%, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's kind of how we will know whether or not an order block will hold. Okay, because now what's going to happen is we think, sweet, price is going to hold here. We see price come in, maybe it respects, doesn't break structure, structure's up there, and we just get blasted. And we wonder why. We wonder, oh, you know, smart money, it's a scam, trading's a scam, everything I do is a scam, right? I'm a terrible trader. We all have these thoughts, okay? So the reality is confirmations are always going to be key, okay? So let's go back and have a look at this, okay? We can see, now this is where I wanted to talk about refinement, okay? So we can clearly see here, I'm just going to be looking at this area over here. Yeah, just so you guys know. Right, so we now want to look for our last bearish candle before a strong push to the upside. Right, now you would more than likely say that that would be the candle, right? That candle over there. Well, no, because no momentum was actually created until the next candle. Let's have a look at this. So we can see there's our last bearish candle before a strong push to the upside. However, this bullish candle, this next one, did not have any momentum in it. So what happens then is we can then refine it from that bearish candle onto this one, and this will be our new order block. As you can see, this next candle engulfed it and we began moving to the upside. Right, now let's go and draw this in like this. This will be our point of interest. Okay, let me change the color on this. There we go. Sweet. So as you can see, price came back to it fairly quickly before it moved away. It did actually come back to test again over here, but I do know a few people would be using that as their order block. Right, so for now we're just going to be looking at the first move. Remember, once an order block has been retested, then it has no longer, what has been invalidated, should I say. Right, so as you can see here, we clearly have a break of structure on a lower time frame, right there. Very clear break of structure. So what does that mean? Remember, we now have our strong push, break of structure. We know now that this order block is going to be valid. Okay, obviously this can be used on any time frame. Okay, I'm just using it on the 1 hour chart, so it's a lot clearer to see. Let me actually just pull this across so you can see the candle. Cool, so now you can see price has created an order block. We have broken structure. Now we know that this is going to be a valid order block. So what do? Don't worry about the amount of pips we are looking at here, because on a lower time frame, this would be a much more refined order block, and I'm talking 10 pips maybe. Right, you have your first entry on top of the order block, your stop loss just on the bottom of it or just below. Our first target will be more than likely this next order block over here. Okay, and obviously if you do go in and analyze, for example, your weekly highs, daily highs, etc., you would probably be looking to target those. For all we know, this might be a daily high, but Again, this is just for this example. So what do we know here? We have our risk entry, which is this one. Okay, we had our break of structure, a retest of the order block. Now what? Now we have our confirmation entry. We can clearly see that we broke and closed above structure again. Right? So now we have our first entry. I'm just going to label it there by the order block. This would be our risk entry, right? And then our second order block, which would be this one over here, this would be our confirmation entry. Why? Because we broke structure again. Entry, sweet. We have our first break of structure, so we can almost safely assume we will be entering on top of this order block. We have our second break of structure, meaning we now have our confirmation entry. And what do? We have our first entry on top of the order block with your stop loss just below, and again, same targets all the way up there. You can even see here on an hourly chart that you would get a 1 to 3, 1 to 4. Okay, this is basic stuff. When you begin to refine this down onto a 30-minute, 15-minute, 5-minute, then you start getting really sniper entries. So again, like I said to you, you need to treat these areas as point of interests. Okay, let's actually go back. Let's see if we can see why price came into this area. All right. Okay. Now, this is the area that price reacted from. So let's go and see why it reacted off of there. Okay. So we look for our order block. How do we know what an order block is? Our last bearish candle before a strong push to the upside, right? Well, no momentum created in this candle, so we shifted onto this candle now. So now our order block would go from that bearish candle onto this bullish candle. Okay, just like that. Now what happens? No momentum in this next candle here. So what do? We go and shift it on, and we shift it on, and we shift it on. As you can see, this candle over here was the first candle that had real momentum being created. So this would be our order block over here. Right. So let's go and draw this order block in. Cool. Now let's just extend this to the right and see how our price reacted off of this area. Look at that. What did I say? We have our point of interest, this big order block that we've now gone back and found. I probably should have done that first to show you guys, but this order block over here that we went and found would be our point of interest. We don't know for sure that price will react off of here, but how do we get our first confirmation? We get a price tap into that order block, break structure, retest that new order block that's been formed, have our risk entry, break structure again, confirmation entry, and boom, we're flying. So remember, exactly as I drew earlier, we have price tap into an order block, break structure, retest new order block, break structure again, retest another order block, and continue to the upside. Right? So if I had to redraw this, we have our big order block like this that we went very far back to find. Right? Let me just pull the extend to the right off. Sweet. So we have our big order block, which is, let me grab this. This order block over here is this one over here. Okay, remember it was very, very far back. We have price tap into that area. We then have price go and break structure like this. There we go. Retest a new order block that has been formed like this. Let me just clear this chart up a little bit, which will be this order block over here. Let me just show you guys this candle over here. Remember, so we have our tap in, form new order block, price retest that order block over there, break structure again. As you guys can see how simple this is. You don't need to overcomplicate this. It's so simple, but it's just about being patient and waiting for the right order blocks. And remember, on things like NASDAQ, historically the market's always been pushed to the upside. So you will always be safer buying than selling. So if you literally just wait for this, you can get a solid 2 entries and you can hold for a very long period of time, depending on where it is. And as you can see, I mean, like we went onto a 4-hour, let's just look at it on a daily so it's a little bit easier to see. Wherever this chart is, there it is. You can see how nicely price came back into this area. We had our nice 4-hour order block. You can even see it was like even a daily order block. Remember what I said? The higher the time frame something's on, the more it will more than likely be respected. But again, we go through our confirmations, we get 2 brilliant entries. Again, we would have refined those a hell of a lot more, so those entries could have got a lot smaller. And if you really want, what you can do, I don't do this personally because for me it's a bit too much work and it's not necessarily my strategy. But what some guys do, they wait for it to tap in on maybe an hourly chart. Once it taps in there, then they go down onto a 15-minute chart, redraw the order block. Once it taps in there, break structure again on a 5-minute chart. Only then do they begin to look for an entry. So it all depends on how refined you want to get. And as I say, this is my strategy specifically when I look for order blocks. And, 85-90% of the time it works for me. But obviously no strategy is going to be 100% bulletproof. And you can only have as many confirmations as you can. And at the end of the day, you're trading with your own money. You need as many confirmations as you need. So if you want to go through all of the steps of waiting for break of structure on all the different time frames, great. Then you know in your own heart that is going to be the trade that works out. But again, please don't trade off order blocks blindly. You will lose more money than you could ever believe. And other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know so many of you asked for this topic, so hopefully you guys will be trading order blocks a hell of a lot better now. But other than that, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Comment down below, let me know how this works out for you, and I'll check you guys next time. Otherwise, smash that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it, and smash that like button. But until next time, guys, peace.